to episode 1 especially is very, very interesting, and I am very, very excited to have Bob with me today, Bob Pointer, and I have been very, very lucky to have had Bob as a mentor to me when I had started off in the year 2013. And I was venturing into helping professionals get or crack an interview. And that is when I got in touch with Bob, and he was my mentor who taught me how to read body language and study expressions. And now to get him in the very first episode, I am indeed very, very fortunate. So welcome, Bob, to the Success Vitamin Talk.
Thank you very much.
Let me give everyone a short background or an introduction of Bob. Bob is a former police detective and lecturer at City University of London. For the past 12 years, he has provided support and educational development opportunities globally for businesses of all sizes and sectors. Bob specializes in behavioral assessment, profiling, and forecasting, and a very interesting thing that he does, which is a link between security and profitability. This is what Bob's background is, and I am also very happy to say that Bob's programs and courses are going to be available to all of us in India under the umbrella of Success Vitamin. And the course about face, something that I had done, expressionism, you would not want to miss that one. It should be available by the 1st August. It is out for beta testing at the moment. And there would also be a lot of courses on tactical communication, effective business conversations, advanced influence and persuasion skills, workplace investigations, and investigative conversations. So these are a few of the programs that Bob will be starting. I would first like to ask and understand from Bob is that, Bob, we advertised and we have been speaking to everyone about this talk. The subject was dark psychology. Now, many have got pretty intrigued by that, and they want to know that what is this dark psychology? So that would be my first question, Bob, to you.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here. What is dark psychology? Well, you've just answered your own question because you've become curious. And so that is what dark psychology is. It's influencing people to do certain things.
All right.
In the scheme of human behavior, we all have this fantastic idea that we have free will. Well, that isn't really the case. We are all influenced. We're influenced from the day we were born until today. And some of that influence is done for good reasons, some of it for not so good reasons. Dark psychology is nothing really. It's just a term. And if you now go from here and go onto Amazon, once this, don't go now, please, but when this is finished, you will be able to see at least 30 or 40 books on dark psychology.
All right.
Interestingly, none of them are published by authoritative publishers. They're all self-published, and most of them are rubbish. All dark psychology is using human behavior for bad purposes.
For bad?
That's all it is.
Wow.
Bad purposes.
Oh, okay.
So for instance, it's called social engineering, is what the term is. If you Google social engineering, you'll see it. It's non-technical hacking people.
All right.
But it is not a dark art, because it is basically what we do if we're effective salespeople. I moved from the field of security into sales training, but I don't do sales training. I do relationship building, because you may be quite successful at getting people to buy from you.
Correct.
Okay, you might be very good at selling,
Correct.
but the art of it is to create the environment where people want to buy from you. And
Agree.
so that's what I do. It's called advanced. I call it. I work with a motor company in the UK, and they call it advanced communication for sales. But it's no different to what hackers do. It is no different. It's just being used for a different purpose.
That's a very interesting term you used, Bob. Hacking the behavior, hacking, or you're saying that we as individuals, when we are using dark psychology, can I say that in that case, we are like conning people? We are not really selling. We are not really building relationship, but we are basically conning people.
No. Yes, there are people who do that. A dark psychology is you get an email from a friend, or supposedly from a friend, which says click this link, and you will click it because you trust the person. But it's not. It's just using human behaviour. Now, in terms of the business that I operate in, they call it white hats and black hats. I'm definitely a white hat, so I only use it for good. I get it to help people build relationships. I use it to get people with low self-confidence to get the confidence to be the best version of themselves. But it's very easy. I mean, let me give you an example of how it works. Okay?
Yes.
Right. Do not think of a pink elephant. Now, you've all thought of a pink elephant, even though I told you not to. That's called reverse psychology, because I know that to actually physically not think of an elephant, you have to think of one to do it. So in the right time, in a conversation, I can say to someone, don't consider buying this car, and they will think about buying the car. Right. It's called reverse psychology, dark arts. Another one is semantics, semantic influence in the words you use. Now, I've worked a lot in the Asian continent, and it's slightly different there, but the English language has lots of words that have dual meanings.
Right.
So during a conversation, for instance, I could be doing a sales conversation with someone, and I get to the point where I can see from their behavior and everything that I've got a commonality with them.
Right.
At that time, I can actually say, by now, you'd have made your mind up. And I've just told them to buy. Buy now can mean two different things.
Right. Right.
So that's called semantics. And this is dark psychology. It is about manipulation of the human mind.
Right.
Now, if you think about it, there's influence and there's persuasion.
Right.
Persuasion is good, but you have to put forward an argument. And it is a conscious mind. You're talking to people's conscious mind, and you're getting them to form an opinion. Or you can just bypass that, which is what I do, and I talk to their unconscious mind.
All right. So let me get it a little, correctly for the benefit of everyone. You're saying persuasion. So maybe I'll just ask you this question again. So just explain what is the difference between then influencing and persuasion, because yes, we use these two words and these are heavily used in sales and leadership. We talk about persuasion, we talk about influencing. So is there an element of dark psychology in that case that differentiates the two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Persuasion relies on argument. It relies on you putting forward a proposition and getting the other person to acknowledge that as the right way to go. Influence, you don't say it, you infer it, and it bypasses the conscious mind and goes into the subconscious mind.
Okay.
So dark psychology is just a term, and it's not a term that I use. I use it for a reason, and that was to make people curious. Because if you follow Robert Cialdini, he says the pillars of influence, one of them is curiosity.
Right.
Make people curious, they'll want to know more, as long as you do it in the right way. And we've proved it by however many people are here.
So So let me ask you a very basic question. You have met so many different types of people, and um, during your time as a detective, you would have met a lot of people who would have actually used this dark psychology on in and hacking people's behavior.
Hmm.
So what is behavior? A very basic question, I know, but what is behavior according to you?
Right there, it's you can boil it down to an equation. Behavior equals the function of a person in an environment. So it's the way that a person will behave in a certain environment.
Right,
So, for instance, if you want to influence someone, it is about you, it is about where you do it and how you do it. So, say, for instance, if we take it back to the police, and the police is a long while ago for me, it's over 12 years ago,
right,
but having to speak to people and get them to talk to you is doubly hard because they know they can't leave. They're in a room. The room looks very like a cell and everything, and they've been locked in a cell. That is not a conducive environment to get people to speak to you.
right,
What you need to do is create the environment first that will allow them to feel comfortable. And comfortable is the key word. In all relationships, what we have is we have two people or two powers involved in it. We have the powerful person and we
mm,
have the powerless person.
right,
Okay? In sales, and what I could not understand when I first got into sales, they don't understand that. If you ask a salesperson who is the powerful person, they'll say them, but it's not, because the other person is the powerful person because they have the right to just walk away. And so
right,
the power is all with them. So if you imagine it as a seesaw, it's going up and down like that. And what you want to do is to put that person in the center of the seesaw, which is not power, not powerless, but
mm,
is comfortable. And
mm,
when people are comfortable, all of their defenses start to melt away. And
correct.
once the defenses are melting away, you can then influence them. You cannot influence people because we only have two settings.
True,
When we meet other people, we either see them as a friend or a foe.
true,
There are only two settings.
true.
And so what you've got to do before you do anything else is to make them like you.
Agree.
Because
And I think,
if
yeah,
people like you, they will buy from you. If people like you in a business, if they like their manager, they won't steal from the company.
true, true. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that is probably is what we always keep telling the salespeople, people who are in sales, and that is where the importance of starting with the building rapport. It is such an important step in sales because that is the first time where you are letting your customer, your client, uh, remove that guard, remove that
Yeah.
shield from the front, and in order to, like, I will use this word now, in order to influence the customer to remove that guard or the shield that customer is holding in front,
Yeah.
one needs to therefore come across as harmless. Let me put it in a very simple way. One has to come across as absolutely harmless, and that is when the customer will also feel that, oh yeah, okay, fine, this person is not here to hurt me or cause any pain to me, so it's okay, so I can let my guards go, and that's probably how we get the customer to the center of the seesaw and create that
Yeah.
kind of a comfort zone for the customer also to open up and start sharing all the information with us. So uh, does the process of relationship building, when we are building a relationship, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, just following on from what you've said there, there is a theory called the social penetration theory. Now, everything I do, I'm very careful that it is based on science. I don't, I don't like to say that I use body language. It's behaviour, because body language is quite, it's not what I do. But social penetration theory, it's actually much better known. And if you want to search for it after this, it's called the onion theory.
Onion theory.
And so if you think about an onion and you split it in half and you've got rings.
Right.
So the way relationships work is that when we first meet someone for the first time, we are on the outer edge of that ring. And that first ring is superficial. So when we have contact, so just say for instance, and I have done it and videoed it, walking up to a person in the street and saying, "Hi, I'm Bob. Can you give me your wallet, please?" They won't give it to you.
No.
But if I spent 15, 20 minutes with that person at the right time, they may well give me their wallet. But what you have to do is you have to work through the rings of the onion. And the first ring is the superficial ring. So in that superficial ring, you talk to people about things that are not unique to you. So you talk about generic things. So I'm British, so we talk about the weather, or we talk about football, or we talk about something which has got no personal attachment to it.
Right.
Now, another law of human beings is that we are great mimics.
Yeah.
We mirror other people's behavior.
Right.
So, and also we talk in a thing called adjacency pairs. So if I say something, the chances are that you will say something back, which is joined to that. So I say, "How are you?" And you say, "I'm fine, thank you."
Right.
That's how you know if communication is working. Because if I say, "How are you?" and you say, "I want to go for a walk," then there's a disjoint.
Right.
Okay? So you're on the outer ring of that onion. And then at some stage, I'll say to you, "Well, I've got to go for a minute because I've got to get back to work. I just worked round the corner." Now, being reciprocal, which is another sphere of influence, but also making that a pair, you will say, "Oh, do you? I only work over the road." So you've now moved that conversation down to the next level because I've given you something about me and you've given me something back. And so now we operate at what I call a business level, and you can do business there. But what really works is if you can move that person by giving away a bit more about you, but so dropping in the conversation about your family or something a little bit more personal, they will feel they've got to reciprocate. Once they do that, you will see by their behavior, from their facial expressions and everything else, that you've reached what I call a commonality of perception.
True.
Once you reach that, you are much better able to influence and persuade.
True.
So basically, if you look at the onion and if you put a line from the outside through, that's called the sphere of influence.
Right.
Your sphere of influence is very narrow at the top. The chances of influence very narrow. The further you can go through the onion, move that person through the onion, and this is where it all comes down to science, biology, psychology, neuroscience. It's all about understanding how people's brains work and how that affects the inside, affects what happens outside. And so I work on the inside, and the results that I see are on the outside.
That's very, very interesting. And I remember, Bob, when we were doing our I was working with you on the entire body language aspect. One thing that this is reminding me, one thing that you always said is that we should not be looking at the body in isolation, the body parts in isolation. And I think that is what you meant then, which I understand now, of course, after 7 years, that it is all about the behavior. All that is happening inside is something that is getting portrayed through my outside. And that is why probably all those expressions of maybe a disgust or anxiety or surprise, all those expressions that we used to read. And that is why, even in our classes, we always say that just because a customer has his hands folded like this, don't immediately now decipher, oh, he's not interested. That may not be the case at all. So I would like to understand, because there are many people who are watching. This is really very, very interesting. So if you could tell everyone that why is it very important to look at everything as a whole and not just look at everything in parts and try to decipher, then probably we will get negatively influenced in that case.
Sure. Well, what I would say to start with is that this is just my theories, you know, based on science, but this is my perspective on it, is that there are three types of behavior that all humans have. Okay. And the first is cultural. So I've been very fortunate to have worked around the world, and
Right.
I know that there are different variations of behavior
Mhm.
depending on what countries you go to. So first of all, you have to take that into account. The second type of body language and behavior is personal behavior. We all have our own behavior, and you will not get to know that unless you get to know someone. Then you will see, because the big issue with assessing behavior is what is known as false positives, where you see something and you make a decision on it without enough knowledge of
Right.
that person.
Right.
So I get asked a lot to look at people like Donald Trump. Now, I could analyse Donald Trump and I could say what his behaviour means. I don't know whether Donald Trump has been coached to behave like that. That isn't Donald Trump. That isn't Donald Trump that you see behind doors. That
Mm.
is Donald Trump's persona. It's
Mm.
not a great one, but it's what he does.
Right.
So you have to be very careful. So you have personal body language, you have cultural body language, but then you have the one that you can rely on. And that's behavior that I can say from my travels, no matter where you go in the world, people would do those behaviors. So just say, for instance, when people get surprised, they always show the same facial expression.
Yes, true. Oh.
Or I can't say always because I've not met everyone in the world. But most people, when they get surprised, they do certain things. They go into a defensive mode and their eyes widen so they can see the field much better.
True.
And so they do that. So
True.
there are behaviors that you can actually say they mean this for the majority of people. But we also have to be aware that we are much more informed now, and we realize that these things, things like autism and things like that, we're all on those spectrums. And
Mm.
so we shouldn't, the thing that I really dislike about a lot of programs is they say that human beings can be put in a box and this is what a human being is. It
Mm.
isn't like that.
Mm.
We're all unique. And what I do with people is, and basically how it works is we have a personality, and that sort of develops up to about the age of 7. By the age of 7, our personalities are formed, and they won't change very much throughout the whole of our life.
Right.
So what we do to allow ourselves to fit into the world is we create personas. So we have a persona for business meetings, which is different to the way we behave with our family.
Mm. Mm.
And what I do with people is I help them to find the best bits of themselves, and that can then become the persona that they can use.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Bob. I think this would have really helped everyone to understand the aspect, first of all, the difference between influencing and persuasion, because many times we would have used them interchangeably, with each other. And many times, in job descriptions or leadership skills also, people have used that you need to be strong in persuasion skills. Now it is very, very clear, and probably I would request everyone in the HR and in the leadership and the senior management to understand this difference between influencing skills and persuasion skills, and therefore be very mindful when you are using this word and saying that you should be strong or good at persuasion skills. I think this aspect definitely cleared a lot of doubt in our mind. And I would request everyone who is watching this now, if you have a question, you may please send it on the chat box. We would not be able to take questions live, but if you have questions, we will take another 5 minutes to take a few questions from you. If you want to ask something to Bob, this is not an everyday opportunity, although very soon we will get Bob's courses here for all of us. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. All right, so we have one question, Bob. It is saying that why is it important in business context to hack human behaviors?
Well, the thing is that we use these terms, and I've said we use these terms because they make people curious, and they're, if you pardon, they're sexy terms. But actually, what I'm talking about is, when I say hack, is to get people to like you and do it for genuine reasons. Because one thing I will tell you is that none of this works if you are disingenuous. It only works if you do it. So I'm a white hat. I build relationships. When I say to someone, I can help you, I mean it. If you don't mean what you're saying, it won't work. It will only work to a certain extent. So when I say hack people, I do it for positive reasons. So I help people understand themselves and
Right.
to be the best of themselves. So I talk about hacking from that point of view. Again, it's just a term. Okay.
So we have one more question, and that is, like we spoke about the three behaviors, right? One is the personal behavior, another
Yeah.
is the cultural behavior. So now someone wants to know, what's the third behavior called? What's the name of the third behavior?
Right. I would say, and because I'm a simple man, I'm not an academic, so I try and keep things simple. I call it most people behavior.
Yes, that's
Behavior that most people would do in certain circumstances.
right.
The thing with most people behavior, it is usually linked to negative thoughts.
True.
So it is usually a good indicator that there is resistance. Okay. And when I say resistance, and again, one of the things I get asked to do a lot is to do lie detection training.
Right.
Well, I can tell you, I was a police officer for 30 years. I can't tell if people are lying. I can find it, I can see that anxiety is there and that they may be resistant, but they may be resistant for all sorts of reasons. Lying may be one of them.
Yeah, true. Very true. Very true. Lying could be one of them. Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. So thank you so much, Bob, for joining us this evening. And it was wonderful to have you live. I mean, there have been a lot of viewers who have been watching us on YouTube and also on this platform right now. And you have helped understand a very, very critical aspect for everyone, and which is behavior and how we need to influence behavior. I mean, that is my key takeaway that I am having it. And I believe that everyone else would agree with me here, that the key takeaway here is that we need to influence our behavior and not try to manipulate someone. So with that, I would like to thank you, and would request if you have any last few words that you would like to say to the viewers here.
Sure. I would say one thing is that there's, well, two things actually. The first is that there's a saying, hostility breeds hostility. There is no defense to kindness.
True.
Every day you get up in the morning and you get the ability to choose who you're going to be. Choose to be kind.
Fantastic. I think with that note, it brings us to the end of our season 1 of Success Vitamin Talk. That choose to be kind. We have an option, and let us use this as an option, of kindness as an option. The world in the current time needs kindness from everyone around us. We all are going through an unprecedented time. None of us have gone through a situation like this. People are losing jobs. There are a lot of businesses are going through losses. You and I probably are sitting at home and wondering that what should be my next course of action. And the only thing that would probably give us a lot of assurance and a lot of hope and optimism to look forward is your kindness, is our kindness towards each other. So with that, I thank you all for joining in. I thank you, Bob, for being a part of this wonderful talk. And I will see you all in our next episode. Until then, take care and stay safe. Thank you, everyone.